Imagine yourself lying on the bed, surfing through your social medias, and suddenly encountering these pictures. I guess many of you must have been familiar with these pictures. These are MBTI members, which are nowadays widely spread and used across all social media platforms. So before getting into my topic, let's pause to think. What is MBTI? The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI in its abbreviated form, is a self-questionnaire indicating different psychological preference in how people perceive the world and make decisions. There are a total of 4 categories. You can be either introverted or extroverted, intuitive or sensitive, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. With modern and reliable framework and hundreds of pioneering study, it is safe to conclude that MBTI is a reliable and objective sorting system. So, when considering when people may think that with similar or complementary personalities can better cooperate with each other. So does the reality correspond with what we expected? To find out, I designed a survey. Choosing about 100 people from the educational counseling system, where people are about the age of 25 to 35, I give them a firm indicating their MBTI personality type, and to let them fill in who are their best working partners. And after that, I choose randomly from the 100 cases, I randomly choose 40 cases and graph this first graph. From this first graph, we can see that each individual is represented by a specific colored circle, indicating their MBTI personalities. And if one of the 2 respondents treats the other as their best working partner, a thin line will connect between them. However, if the line is thicker, it means that both respondents consider each other as their best working partner. So from this first unprocessed graph, we may not clearly get the conclusion that whether people's working relationship is related to their MBTI personality type. So by sorting people with the same MBTI personalities together, which means by dragging the circle with the same color into a cluster, we can get this second graph. However, blatantly, we cannot see any patterns, polls either. No specific rules, pairing rules, appears in this picture, and the line stretch of each group seems to be pretty crowded. So from these 2 graphs, I get my first fundamental conclusion that people's interpersonal working relationship are irrelevant to their MBTI personality types. I continued my research by selecting individual cases instead of viewing the 40 cases as a whole. So from the 9 paired couples, I randomly choose 1, and now I will elaborate on my survey about this specific pairing. Yellow in this case represented INFJ, while green represented ENFJ. Now let's look at their profile on the official website especially regarding the type of work habit preference. INFJ, as introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging, are capable workers. They stand out for their ability to diffuse conflict and identify others' motives. Green represented ENFJ, and as extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging they are, they stand out for their desire to collaborate. And they are good at creating win-win situations where everyone can speak out their opinions comfortably. INFJs and ENFJs traits are both indicate that they are capable and perfect candidates for group work. However, back to our explorative topic. Does it mean that interpersonal working relationship has to be paired with, is related to people's MBTI personalities? If so, why do only this specific INFJ choose ENFJ to pair them with each other? So from my two experiments, I can get the conclusion that interpersonal relationships are irrelevant to people's MBTI personality types. So what can we infer from my experiment? Nowadays, teenagers blindly believe in everything about MBTI, me included. As an INFP, I tend to believe in everything about INFP. I even memorized the whole INFP traits and recited it to my classmates, saying to them that, yeah, this is me. I once even post on my social media platform that saying that I'm only going to make friends with INFPs. However, after I text this, my phone was suddenly blown up by my best friend from middle school since she was an ESTJ. However, during my middle school time, MBTI was not this popular, so I do not know that my MBTI personalities is not that suited to hers. So after I realized this point, I began to question myself. Was I wrong after all this time in believing this MBTI sorting system? So I began to search for theories that may explain my trust toward this MBTI sorting system, and I found this. The Pygmalion effect. So now let's look at the video that briefly introduces the Pygmalion effect.
Pygmalion effect is the phenomenon whereby higher expectations lead to higher performance. It can be best understood by a circle where our beliefs about another person's abilities influence our actions toward the other person. This action has an impact on the other's beliefs about themselves. The beliefs about themselves cause the other's actions toward us, which again reinforce our beliefs about that person. And so on, and on, and on. Let's look at an example and start with your beliefs. Imagine you are the coach of a basketball team, and you observe your team on the first day. Chris and Joe are new members of your team. Chris reminds you of a famous player. Joe reminds you of an annoying boy from your high school years. Unconsciously, you decide what to expect of each one of them. Your beliefs influence your actions. When Chris enters the court, you're happy to see him. When he plays, you push him to do better, practice harder, stay an extra hour. If he makes a mistake, you explain to him how to improve. When Joe comes in, you hardly notice him. You're glad to see him score, but you don't give him much feedback and don't invest extra time in his training. When Joe does a mistake, you are a little annoyed. Your actions impact their beliefs about themselves. Chris feels you appreciate him, and he appreciates you in return. he believes in his own success. Joe feels you have little patience and appreciation for him. He does not believe in his own success. Their beliefs about themselves causes their actions toward you. Chris finds more and more joy in playing, and he never misses a training session. During the games, he gives 100% all the time. Joe finds less joy in playing than before and doesn't give his full effort in the games. He starts to miss the training sessions sometimes, which reinforces your beliefs about them. You see how Chris enjoys playing, how he trains hard and shows a fast increase in his performance. Joe seems not to be very motivated. His skills don't increase as much, and he starts to show up less. You knew it right away. Thank God your instincts were right.
So now let's use this to interpret the scenario of MBTI. I first heard of INFP when my friends around me said that I act like an INFP. So I began to search on the website for INFP traits, and I found out that, oh my God, this is exactly me. So after that, I began to be I'm more determined that I am an INFP. So I tend to behave more like an INFP. So it gradually influenced my behavior, and eventually the self-fulfilling prophecy circle continues. As I'm more curious in indulging the INFP traits, I forget the self that do not align. I sometimes forget the self that bears a sense of integrity as INTJ. I sometimes forget the self that can give others valuable advices as ESTJ. And I sometimes forget the self that bears a strong sense of idealism as INTJ. Nowadays, teens blindly create barriers for themselves, which is not good for their future development. Teens blindly and which is not good for their future development. For example, why? Because you cannot choose which scenario you will end up throughout your life. You may be paired with a roommate that is noisy. You may attend a college course where a professor dislikes your learning styles. You may also be paired with a classmates that are uncooperative. However, do you really have to abandon the chance of collaboration just because that their personalities do not fit you? You will not, and you should not. We use MBTI as a tool to know others' strengths and weaknesses. In this way, we can diffuse barriers between people and to better embrace each other and create win-win situations. Never should we set boundaries on ourselves and on others. Just as the old Chinese saying goes, 海纳百川，有容乃大. The sea admits hundreds of rivers for its capacity to hold. With a steadfast heart, we will press on with indomitable will. Thank you.